what is the current salary cost for cabinet, and how does that compare to previous years?
The current costs are $10.8 million every year, which is $3 million more than the cabinet that Trudeau first swore in back in 2015.
And have officials given any reason behind this rising cost? And just to clarify, how does all of this impact Canadian taxpayers?
Well, bigger salaries plus more ministers mean higher costs for taxpayers coming at the worst possible time. Now, Prime Minister Justin Trudeau, he is going to receive $371,000. Ministers will be receiving $274,000. So those are big salaries. But the real slap in the face to taxpayers is that all of our members of parliament received 2 pay raises during the pandemic. So the prime minister will be receiving $13,800 more than pre-COVID-19, while ministers will be receiving $10,100 more than pre-pandemic.
And to add to that, we know the CTF came out with a report today on carbon taxes and how they relate to gas prices. So tell us a little bit more about that, sir.
Well, the report shows what these current gas prices would mean with the future carbon tax hikes that are coming down the pipe. Now, we're all struggling with the high gas prices, so we should be seeing politicians giving us some tax relief at the pumps, but the Trudeau government is moving in the wrong direction. And Trudeau's massive carbon tax hike by 2030 will add about 40 cents per liter to the price of gas, but he's also imposing a second carbon tax, which would add up to 11 cents per liter to the price of gas. So if you look at current gas prices in Toronto and you add in these massive future carbon tax hikes, then the total bill for a family to fuel up their minivan would be about $145.
And taking these taxes into consideration, we know the International Tax Competitiveness Index for 2021 recently came out. So tell us a little bit more about what this report measures and what exactly tax competitiveness is.
Well, tax competitiveness looks at tax systems and see how they are in terms of encouraging economic growth, in terms of attracting businesses and investment. And it compares Canada with 37 OECD countries, which are our peers, other developed nations. But unfortunately, Canada is not doing so well. We rank 20th out of these 37 OECD countries. So we're bottom half of the pack, and Canada has fallen 2 points over the last year.
So what would you say are some other key findings from this report when it comes to Canada in particular?
Yeah, so overall, our tax competitiveness, 20th out of 37, but business tax competitiveness, we're 23rd out of 37, personal taxes, we're 27th out of 37, and property taxes, we're 24th out of 37. So all in all, these measures not looking good for Canada's tax competitiveness.
Did the report highlight anything positive about Canada's tax system at all, sir?
Well, we did have a bright spot, and it's the fact that Canada right now does not have a wealth tax. That would be a very damaging type of tax, which would chase away Canadian residents and chase away assets that we definitely need to be having here, especially as we try to grow our way out of this downturn. And also for everyday Canadians, we have to keep on guard against these so-called wealth taxes, because after politicians would be done soaking the rich, well, where would they look for money next? They would start to come to everyday Canadians and hit us with higher taxes.
All right, Mr. Terrazzano, about a minute left in this interview, but let's talk solutions. What kinds of realistic steps is the CTF recommending officials to take?
Well, especially in light of this tax competitiveness report that shows that we're at the bottom half of the pack on tax competitiveness with our peers, I think it's pretty clear that if politicians really want to get our economy firing on all cylinders again, that they should prioritize tax relief over more government borrowing, right? We don't need these politicians running around spending money that we don't have. Instead of that, just let families keep more of their own money in their own pockets. Let businesses have more of their own money so that they can reinvest in operations and get more Canadians back to work.
All right, Mr. Terrazzano, thank you again for joining us today on Forum Daily.
Hey, it was my please.
All right, after the break, we'll be back with a look at top stories from across Canada. Alberta's government tables a bill on so-called captive insurance. Quebec says it will not impose mandatory vaccinations on the education sector. And the Nova Scotia government has introduced a bill to put 28 climate goals into law. These stories and more coming up after the break.